Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's an honour to rise today to participate in the debate for Bill 201, the Electric Utilities Transparency and Billing Amendment Act, brought forth by the Honourable Member for Rimbey Rocky Mountain House Sundre. Mr. Speaker, I can't tell you over the last number of years how many constituents of Edmonton Decor have come forward trying to interpret their electricity utility bills, and so I'm very pleased that this member, honourable member, has brought forward this very important issue that are, with the reason it is on the minds of many Albertans. Mr. Speaker, Bill 201 speaks to a number of strong principles which are foundational items for any government institution, quasi-public or private business organizations, namely transparency, which promotes accountability and public disclosure. In our modern society, these are pillars of democratic governance, which are very critical for the efficient and effective functioning of a modern economy and for fostering openness and public trust. For example, in regards to public organizations like the government, many powers are delegated to our public authority, and assurance must then be provided to the delegators, that is, society at large, that this transfer of power is not only effective, but also not abused. Transparency ensures that information is available that can be used to measure the authority's performance and to guard against any possible misuse of powers. In that sense, transparency serves to achieve accountability, which means that authorities can be held responsible for their actions. Mr. Speaker, without transparency and accountability, trust will be lacking between government and those whom it governs. The result would be social instability and an environment that is less than conducive to economic growth. Today, there appears to be an increased commitment by organizations to undertake reforms aimed at enhancing transparency, which, as mentioned, promotes accountability. Also, it allows for stakeholders and citizens to garner information and to have a clearer understanding about the activities of an organization, and at the same time making the organization more accountable for its activities. It has been suggested that by opening a window to the internal workings on the inside creates a greater level of trust. Truth be told, Mr. Speaker, many might say you won't be trusted unless you are transparent. Many governments, quasi-public organizations, and private organizations are taking appropriate actions very consistent with law and policy making to disclose information in forms that the public can readily find and use. Further, new technologies are being developed to put information about operations and decisions online and readily available to the public. For example, on June 25, 2013, the Right Honourable Francis Mode, Minister for the Cabinet Office and Paymaster General in the United Kingdom, indicated in his speech that the United Kingdom's government in 2013 has had the largest data resource web portal in the world with over 40,000 data files available to the public. Further, that the UK government's plan is an ambitious one which is committed to working with the public to publish more data sets. With specific reference to Bill 201, the Honourable Member is asking that the Alberta Utilities Commission to provide a report on transparency and billing to the Minister of Energy. Further, Bill 201 asks the Minister to implement the recommendations of the Alberta Utilities Commission within 6 months from the day the report is provided, or take the necessary steps to implement those recommendations. Mr. Speaker, engaging parliamentarians on these issues is especially important. I support initiatives which increase transparency, whether it pertains to government, quasi-public, or private organizations. Because quite frankly, Mr. Speaker, that's what the public expects. Furthermore, I support addressing that utility corporations be required to provide transparent information to their customers as it pertains to all sections of a utility bill. Alberta consumers deserve to receive utility bills that are transparent in category and meaning and easily understood. Alberta consumers need a radical change regarding the information provided, and they need reassurance that the charges being levied by the utility corporations are not excessive. Mr. Speaker, in 2003, the Electric Utilities Act was amended under the billing regulation to increase the proper standardization of bills prepared by a retailer or an owner for distribution to a customer. Amounts charged to clients are to be displayed in dollars with little room for ambiguities. In 2013, the government further protected consumers by establishing new regulations where the onus would be placed on electricity transmission companies to provide that the cost of transmission lines is reasonable. Also, the power of scrutiny for transmission projects would be placed under the authority of the Alberta Utilities Commission. Mr. Speaker, the Alberta Utilities Commission operates independently and is committed to ensuring that every Albertan whose rights may be directly and adversely affected by the proposed utility application to the Alberta Utilities Commission is informed and has the opportunity to have their concerns heard, understood and considered in the review process. The Alberta Utilities Commission is a trusted and valued commissioning body, and the people of Alberta can be assured that their best interests are a guiding force in the decision-making process of this organization. Mr. Speaker, under their watchful eye of this Commission, Albertans are assured that they are not and will not be paying for unqualified costs associated with building additional transmission lines. Transmission lines are to be built with a high and reasonable standard of due process. I believe that this speaks to the lengths our government will go for the people of our province. Transparency is critical for the effective functioning of our modern economy, and as Alberta grows in population, Mr. Speaker, and in opportunities, this becomes more important than ever before for all Albertans. That is why this government has continued to function under transparency initiatives and will do so moving forward. Bill 201 will include a proposed standardized bill for customers that lists all fixed and variable costs, which could in fact add value to the utility billing process as it pertains to transparency, accountability, and public disclosure. Mr. Speaker, it should be noted that the information that is available to consumers regarding their utility bills, as highlighted by those honourable members before yours truly in this debate, include an explanation on charges to buy electricity, administrative fees, transmission charges, distribution charges, local access fees, and rate riders. In addition, information can also be found on how Albertans can measure their electricity usage. This information is provided by the Ministry of Energy, outlining their priority of fair and just pricing and utility bill understanding. The Alberta Utilities Commission, as the Ministry of Energy has done, also provides a transparent resource on how Albertans can better understand their utility bill. The Alberta Utilities Commission explains that while Albertans may choose their retailer, they are not able to choose their distributor who delivers the energy commodity to their home. This explanation is easy to understand and fairly straightforward. Albertans are advised that distributors have separate charges from their retailer and are identified separately on their utility bill. Retailers have terms and conditions, Mr. Speaker, regarding their service that are approved by the Alberta Utilities Commission, which provides guidelines and rules for billing practices. Mr. Speaker, the reason I highlight this for you today is to point out that the Alberta Utilities Commission and the government are continually serving the best interests of Albertans by providing information. Thank you.
Opposition members?